Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm touching on a subject that comes up quite often. It's whether or not you should email either the human resources or you should email the owner, director, line manager, head of department. Yeah. And it's an important thing to touch on for many reasons. We'll go through everything now and we'll tell you the pros and cons of emailing one or the other. So the first thing you want to touch on is why should you even care? Why is this important? Well, the first thing is what you don't want to be seen as is emailing too many people, coming across as a spammer, you're just desperate for a business. So if you email the wrong person and that person is friends with that person and they go, oh, this guy keeps emailing me, I don't even deal with this. It looks very unprofessional. It looks like you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. So you definitely don't want to come across like that. And this is also a question that comes up a lot. And people do need the answer for it. So hopefully I'm going to provide it in this video. Yeah. I, for one, can tell you from personal experience, HR is probably 80–90% of where I win my business. Yeah. That's not to say going for the owner wouldn't win you the business, but I'm going to touch on why that's important and when you should do it. Yeah. Now, having all the information in this video will help you convert your leads better, help you to target the right person that deals with it. Yeah. And there are a number of things like you can look on the job advert and see who's posting it. Like total jobs have the section, I use it a lot. At the bottom it will tell you who's posted the job. Yeah. Also on LinkedIn you can go on and you can see who's posted a job and contact them because they're the person that's managing that vacancy. Yeah. Not necessarily all the time they're going to manage the whole recruitment process or agency onboarding, but it's good practice to know and look with that. So in a nutshell, you don't want to annoy the client and you want to come across like you know what you're doing, you got the right person, yeah? So the argument for HR, like I said, personal experience, I'll tell you a quick story. I used to, purely when I started recruitment, I used to just cold call. I didn't even look at my emails, in all honesty. And everyone would, all of a sudden, 2 years later, it became this habit of, can you email HR? So when I started in recruitment, it was very much talk to the manager. Yeah. Now, what happened in that period of time, HR has become the core. They call it the heart of the business because they've been instructed or brought in, yeah, to take off workload from the line managers, the owners, etc. That is the HR function. Before it was the boss of the factory. He used to run everything. If you wanted a job, you'd go to him. Yeah. Nowadays, corporate structures, HR deals with recruitment. They deal with the current staff 99% of the time. If the company's small, there isn't a HR. Usually the owner is the HR. That's when a good time to go to the HR or the owner itself. So if it's a small business, stick to the owner because there's probably no HR. They're hard to track, yeah. And that's pretty much what the HR function is. That's what they do as a job. So would it make sense to contact them? Of course. They're usually the ones that are tasked with, we've got a vacancy or we've got coming up, and they're doing the disciplinary actions. They know someone's going to get fired, and that's probably when they're going to actually look to hire. They might even know someone's getting fired and start advertising their job. There's something called a covert job. So some people will email me and say, look, we're going to have a vacancy coming up. That either means someone's getting fired, and we actually want someone to, can you find someone suitable so we can be ready? Yeah. So it might take 3 months to fill that position, so they give you advance notice. Someone isn't performing, and they let you know. Yeah. So HR, another good reason is HR are usually at their desks. Yeah. It's not like you're emailing a nurse who's the head of a ward. Chances are she's not going to be checking her emails all the time. Yeah. So HR are easier to reach in respect if they even answer or pick up. Yeah. And they are in charge of dealing with 90% of the time incoming applications. Yeah. That's their job. They have HR portals, they have HR CRMs for that reason itself. I personally find that there's a huge amount of conversion if I emailed 10,000 managers or 10,000 HR staff. Probably I'd get much higher response and conversion rate, meaning I'll get more clients and successfully onboard clients on my end. Yeah, I find that their conversion rate is much higher. They're more likely to respond, whether that's cold call or email, and they usually tasked with dealing with agencies. The people that I speak to on HR, they know what's going on. They know what my charge is. They know, etc. Some managers I speak to don't even know what the process is. Like, what do you mean sign terms? They don't know. How much do you charge? Well, that's a lot, or that's pretty cheap. They don't know, and they don't even care, to be honest, most of the time. Yeah. And they are trained to deal with agencies. Some companies will give them specific training, or somebody will be allocated a specific person within the business to deal with all HR and agencies. Yeah, so any CVs I get told, please send it to Jane, yeah, or Bob. He will deal with it, and he will deal with it from the agency point of view. He knows exactly what's going on, how it all works. Yeah, that's pretty much the argument for HR. And in terms of the owner, line manager, like I said before, if it's a small business, chances are you can probably go to the owner. They might say, oh, please email the finance director or the secretary. Every business is so different. Yeah. And it is the case of you kind of will never know who best to answer or who to email. Yeah. So the general rule I use is in a candidate driven market, if you go to a manager who actually has the issue, yeah, someone's left his team. Let's take a sales director as an example. He's not performing. He's not bringing in revenue. He's going to get stick from the CEO because there's a vacancy. He's pushed the vacancy to HR, and HR keep telling him there's no one in the market. If you come along with a superstar candidate, he's going to go to HR and say, look, this agency has got me someone. Yeah, you haven't found me anyone. Can you please interview this person? They will push it. Yeah, the good thing about it is I email the owner director with a CV and I say, look, I'm working with this candidate. Would you be interested in something, you know, having a discussion about it? Usually, when it's a candidate-driven market, if you go to a chief of technology with a solid software engineer, no one is going to say no to you. Believe me. Yeah. And that's the best way to approach it, I think. If you're going to a line manager and he's just wasting his time, he hasn't got time. He gets paid to give his time to his work. He hasn't got time to be dealing with endless emails from recruiters, is how they would see it, in my respect. Yeah. Also, the other thing is HR essentially are your competition. If they're brought in, especially talent acquisition falls into HR. If they're seen to be just filling vacancies with agencies, yeah, they're going to look bad. But if they're filling all the roles, they're going to look good. So it's in their personal interest to make sure they're not using agencies so they look good. Yeah. So even if you find a really good candidate, they're just going to say, I don't care. Who cares? That's not my problem. It's going to make me look bad if I fill that position with this agency. Yeah. However, some companies aren't like that. Some companies are just like, here's your budget. If you can fill it, fill it. If not, use an agency. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't got the ins and outs on how many companies do that. But sometimes I speak to people and I'm like, why wouldn't they respond? This candidate is amazingly suitable. So yeah, and that's just my obviously personal experience. Yeah, and the owner and the line manager and director, etc., has more care when filling a vacancy. Actually, have the need. Yeah, so they're going to be the ones that are in charge of it, and they want someone good on their team. Well, HR might be just like, oh, we got to just fill this position, blah blah blah. Yeah. Also, you can cut out HR with this process. Yeah, you can go straight to the horse's mouth. I found in the past. So the owner director, especially if you go to the owner and he says, I like this candidate, HR is like, yeah, I'll organise the interview. They're not going to argue with the chief exec or the owner or the chairman. Yeah, and they will direct HR. If you get a good email, the amount of times I've sent a good candidate and they've just copied HR in and said, please organise the interview. And I'm like, haha, you should have responded to me. So now they're having to deal with me. They've been told, look, go to this guy because he can deliver candidates. Yeah. Also, you get fast-tracked interviews. So HR will have fill this application in, send your CV in, wait 2 weeks. Actually, if the owner or the manager likes someone, they will say, look, can you book an interview in? So you get the fast track. And I put this in red and underlined it. Yeah. The amount of times, even to this day, I get vacancies before HR in their own business. Because the manager will email me and say, look, Cads, I'm going to be looking for this member of staff. If you come across someone, that means Kay to start looking, yeah, you will have a vacancy for you. So if you happen to come across a very, very solid software engineer, I'm always looking, send me their resume, send me their CV. I get it before HR even know, before it's even advertised. They're just always looking. They say, look, if you find me a solid salesperson that has experience in SaaS, selling, VoIPs or whatever, then they will put you forward and they will say, I'll always hire them. So I've got links with all these managers and all these owners. If you find someone solid, send it to me, I'll get them in. That's basically worth its weight in salt, I would say. Yeah. And just to touch on everything, again, I'm very biased in this video because I always deal with 90% of the time HR. However, you can get the best placements. My most highest value placements have always been direct to the owner. So it's kind of, if you want to go for volume, go to HR. If you want to go for quality in certain sectors, I would say the owner's the best to deal with, yeah? And you must remember every company is going to be different. Some of them are set up as branches and franchises. For example, automotive, each branch probably deals with their own recruitment. I'll give you an example. Ford deal with, I think it's up north, they've got one lady that deals with the whole Ford recruitment. If you want to recruit for Ford, you go through her. Yeah, there's no other option. You can't sweet talk a manager. You can't do nothing. They're very strict. Some healthcare agencies or companies I deal with are literally franchises. So they've got 200 homes across the country. Each one is a franchise. You've got to go to the owner, and they tell you go to the owner. Or each home does their own recruitment. Yeah, I get told a lot of that. So what I would say, just to be safe, if it's a candidate-driven market and you're unsure, meaning there's a shortage of candidates, really high-skilled people, let's say doctors, yeah, I would say go directly to the owner manager. Yeah, they're the ones that are going to be like, yeah, we need this staff member. Yeah, definitely, mate. But if it's a vacancy-driven market and there's not massive need, I would go to HR, in my opinion. And you can still do both. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. And the main thing is you have to give a good service and you have to come across professionally and you have to do justice for your clients and candidates. And if all else fails, try both. I mean, there's amount of times if I really want to get into a company, I will go through everyone once a month. I will try. And it is all about timing and it is all about, why should they work with you? Can you deliver candidates? Can we deliver candidates? Yeah. Can we actually help them bring candidates that they're going to retain as well? Not just recruit, we need to retain. And that's probably the most important thing. So I hope I've given you sort of food for thought. If you are interested in coaching one-to-one with me on a Zoom call, you can go to cadsmoney.com, book cada.ltd has a lot of helpful information. So I'll leave the links in the description below. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope this video has been of some value to you. Take care.